Welcome to another episode of Product-Led Growth Ops, a term I did not make up this time because it was last week or the week before, I don't really remember. Today, let's talk about events. Events are one of the corner pieces of product-led growth. I mean, surely you've heard about the term event tracking, product analytics, CDP, CDVs, all this type of fun stuff, but fundamentally we're talking about tracked events. So let me try to make it extremely simple for you because it took me way too long to understand what the hell events are to begin with. Events are simply things that happen to someone or something at some point in time. Let me give you a few examples. I sign up to a product. That date, that time I click sign up and I successfully get a new account, that's an event, signed up. I go to your website, I visit the page view, that is one event. I go to the second page view, second event. Sometimes various systems throw around events. For example, if I'm chatting to you on intercom and I click, okay, resolved, closed, that system is going to say, ticket closed, chat closed. That's an event as well. So let's talk about events on a technical level. Events are always immutable. Events don't change. Much like you can't change the past, you actually can't change any events after they've happened. You can't change the name, you can't change the properties, you can't add stuff, you can't make them beefier as soon as you've realized, hey, wait a minute, I actually need a little bit more information here. You can't change them. That being said, you can always recreate events. Then you can add new properties. But the fundamental idea here is that events cannot be edited. They're kind of just like a long ledger of things that happened some point in time. That's also why events typically are just very large data sets of things that happen, because the same records, they don't change. They just get added to the bottom. It's also one of the reasons why most analytics tools out there, they'll only give you like the past 60, 90, 120 days of data, purely because the large volumes of events is way too much for it to be any way profitable to give to you like that. Okay? Don't quote me on that. Next. So I guess the big question is, where the hell do events come from? Again, quite simple. They come from your product, they come from your website, they come from various systems, Intercom, Drift, HubSpot. Well, HubSpot doesn't like to give you events out, but nevertheless, your product, your website, various tools like your chat system, third-party intent signals, hello, things like Bombora, G2, you know that thing where somebody goes on the review site, they check you out, and then in your Salesforce you get this weird custom object, virtual custom object, and it says, somebody from this organization came to visit your site, maybe you should reach out. That is also an event. All right. What does an event look like normally? Fundamentally, an event is simply a JSON object. JSON being JavaScript object notation. Don't have to go into those nerdy details. Just know that it's an object that contains stuff. And that stuff, for the most part, can be completely whatever you want. There's a few things you always have to have in there, like the event name, the user ID, the created date, and properties, which also, funnily enough, is a object that can contain whatever the you want. Sometimes you have extra things like context and some other parameters, but fundamentally, it's an object with a few mandatory pieces, and the rest of it is whatever you want, which makes it very problematic for various tools to understand these events, right? If you can define them to be whatever you want, then something like HubSpot, Salesforce, of course they can't read them just like that. They have to be processed into something that they understand. But the most important thing to note here is that you have to set up these events yourself. You have to design them. You have to figure out what the naming convention is, what the properties are, when do you call them, most of all. I think that's one of the key points here. Events, they don't just magically happen in your product. You don't just install Mixpanel, Post Hug, Amplitude, or the likes of that, and then events happen. No. You or your developers have to go into the product, do the track calls, do the identify calls, or Maybe some of your marketing folks go into Google Tag Manager and they set up various click events. Okay, button clicked, track event, sign up, track event, identify event. My point being here, you have to do the work.